They excluded me from every family photo for years, so I excluded them all from my wedding day. The venue coordinator's radio crackles just as I'm halfway through my eyeliner. There's a knock on the dressing room door, quick and urgent, and then Rachel leans in, headset askew, eyes wide in that professional but stressed way. "Hey, she says, glancing at the bridesmaids behind me before lowering her voice. There's a group at the main gate insisting they're immediate family. They're pretty upset, says their daughter is getting married in here, and we've made some sort of mistake. My stomach drops, which is impressive because I've barely eaten all day. I don't even need to ask who it is. My phone, face down on the vanity, has been buzzing on silent for the last 10 minutes, call after call from numbers I know by heart and have muted for months. I stare at my reflection. Hair pinned up, veil waiting on the chair, smudged eyeliner threatening to ruin the whole thing. Behind me, my maid of honor, Lila, meets my eyes in the mirror. She doesn't look surprised. "Is it them?" she asks quietly. I swallow. My mouth is dry. "Yeah," I say. "It's them. My father, who hasn't spoken to me in 6 months except for a single 'Are you sure about this?' text. My mother, queen of the Christmas card collage I was never in. My brother and sister, who spent their whole lives angled perfectly in the center of every frame while I learned to be very good at counting myself out." Rachel shifts from foot to foot. "Do you want us to let them in?" she asks carefully. They're insisting there's been a mistake with the guest list. They say they were obviously invited. There's a tiny beat where the old reflex kicks in. Smooth it over, don't make a scene, fold yourself up small so other people are comfortable. But it passes. I pick up my phone, flip it over just long enough to see the newest message from my mother. "How could you do this to us? You ungrateful girl. We are your family." My thumb hovers over it. Then I lock the screen and set it back down. "No mistake," I say, and my voice surprises me by not shaking. "They're not on the list. Please don't let them in." Rachel nods slowly. "You're sure?" "Yes," I say. "I'm sure." My chest is pounding, but there's this strange, quiet layer of relief underneath it. I look at Lila again. She gives the smallest nod like there it is. We knew this moment was coming. "Okay," Rachel says, professional mode sliding back into place. "We'll handle it. You focus on getting married." She disappears, door clicking gently behind her, leaving me in a dressing room full of tulle and hairspray and the echo of a choice people will probably talk about for years. It was a September Sunday when I realized I'd been gone from my own family for a long time before I actually left. I was 23, home for my brother's birthday barbecue, standing in my parents' living room staring at the wall of framed photos that took up almost the entire space above the couch. It was one of those collage situations, different frame sizes, some professional, some candid, kids at different ages, holidays, graduations, weddings. A life, tiled in glossy rectangles. And I wasn't in a single one. Not really. Oh, I was technically present in a handful if you knew where to look. The edge of my shoulder in the corner of a Christmas morning shot, the back of my head in a beach photo, an elbow, and a half-hidden cheek in a birthday group. But in the center of every frame that mattered, every posed family portrait, were my younger siblings, Ethan and Claire. Mom and Dad flanked them, arms around them, everyone beaming. It looked like a family of 4 who'd occasionally had a stranger stand too close to the camera. I knew, objectively, that I'd lived in that house my whole childhood. I'd eaten those burnt pancakes, sat at that table, done homework on that couch. But if you walked into that room as a stranger, you'd think my parents had 2 kids, not 3. "Hey, that's a good one, huh?" Dad had said, coming up beside me, gesturing with his beard, a professionally framed 16 by 20 in the center. Ethan's high school graduation. Gab, Gon, Honor Sash. Mom and Dad on either side, Claire in front of him making bunny ears. Everyone laughing. The lighting softened, the whole thing ready-made for a brochure. I wasn't in it. I knew why. I'd taken a photo. "Yeah," I said, because what else was there to say? "It's nice." Dad slung an arm around my shoulders. "You're quiet tonight, kiddo," he said. "Everything okay?" I wanted to say, "Count how many photos I'm in. Count how many times you handed me the camera instead of telling me to get in the frame." Instead, I shrugged, sliding out from under his arm. "Just tired," I said. Long week. He nodded, already halfway tuned out, attention drifting back toward the grill and the football game on TV. Work you too hard in that office of yours, he said, clapping me on the back. Come out back. We're about to do the family shot before the cake. The family shot. It had started when I was around 9 or 10. Before that, things were normal enough. Lots of disposable camera pictures with all of us crammed together, hair messy, someone blinking. I'm in those. Christmas pajamas, missing teeth, my hand in my mom's. Then Ethan and Claire hit the ages where you start getting professional photos done. School portraits, team pictures, the kind of thing grandparents want framed. Mom started caring more about matching outfits and who stood where. That's when the just one with the three of you thing became just one of the two of them, and then just one of the family while I was handed a camera. I remember the first time I noticed. I was 12 at a studio my mom had booked for proper family photos. The photographer had us all stand together at first. Me on one end, Ethan and Claire in the middle, Mom and Dad behind us. We did the awkward poses, the fake laughter. Then Mom said, "Okay, now I want to just the kids." We shuffled closer. The photographer lifted his camera. "Perfect," he said. Actually, Mom cut in, her voice bright. "Can we do it just Ethan and Claire? For the mantle. Just the two." She laughed like it was harmless. Teenage girls don't like their picture taken anyway, right? I felt my face go hot. The photographer hesitated. Dad stepped in. "Come on, kiddo," he said to me, already ushering me out of the frame. "Let your brother and sister have their moment. We'll get one of you later." We didn't. Later turned into never. At holidays, Mom would call out, "Family picture time," and somehow I'd end up behind the lens or off to the side holding someone's purse or halfway back to the kitchen to refill the gravy when the shutter clicked. If I protested, it was always the same responses. "Don't be difficult, Anna. We'll take another one with you in a minute. You're in plenty of photos. Stop being dramatic." On social media, the photos that made it onto Mom's Facebook, onto the yearly Christmas card, onto the printed-in bulk calendars she sent to relatives, rarely featured me. When they did, it was usually the least flattering candid she could have picked. It became a running joke in my friend group at school. "You're like a ghost in your own family," Lila said once, scrolling through my mom's posts. "It's creepy." At the time, I shrugged it off. "They just like taking pictures of the younger ones," I said. "I'm background, but background wears on you when it's your whole life." Sometimes I wondered if it was because I was older. I'm 5 years ahead of Ethan, nearly 7 ahead of Claire. I was an only child for a while, then suddenly I wasn't. My siblings are both blonde and blue-eyed like Mom. I'm darker like Dad's side. Family friends would joke, "She looks adopted," and everyone would laugh. I'd laugh too, even though I knew I wasn't. Sometimes I wondered if it was because I'd always been a little bigger, a little awkward in photos. Mom was obsessive about weight, scales, angles. Turn to the side, suck in, chin up, she'd fuss. The older I got, the more I avoided the camera, which made it easier for her to say, "Well, you never want to be in photos anyway." But the truth is, I don't think there was some grand conspiracy. I think my mother wanted a certain picture of her life, one that matched the version in her head, picture-perfect nuclear family of 4. 2 kids, evenly spaced. Symmetrical. I was the extra piece that messed up the composition. So she edited. A crop here, a frame there, a choice about which shot went on the wall. And my father let it happen because he hated conflict, because his whole thing was not making a big deal. The problem is when the people in charge of documenting your life keep cutting you out, eventually you start to believe you don't exist. By the time I met my now husband, Jake, at 25, I had years of practice disappearing. We'd been dating for about 6 months when he came over and saw the wall of photos for the first time. He stood there, hands in his pockets, scanning the frames. "So cute," he said at first, genuinely. "Little you." "Not really," I said. He looked closer. His brow furrowed. "Hang on," he said. "Where are you?" "Right there," I said, pointing at a corner where a sliver of my shirt was visible behind Ethan. "And there's my hand." Actually," he said, "like in the middle, with your family." I laughed, but it came out weird. "I took most of these," I said. He turned to look at me fully. "You what?" "Took them," I repeated. "Mom always says I have a good eye." Jake didn't look impressed. "Yeah, because she's never actually looked at this wall, he said. If she had, she'd notice it looks like she has 2 kids, not 3. I opened my mouth to defend them, then closed it. Suddenly, I could see it the way he saw it. We went to my brother's college graduation that year. After the ceremony, everyone crowded under the big oak trees for photos. Mom handed me her DSLR. Do a group shot, she said. I arranged them, Mom, Dad, Ethan in the middle with his diploma, Claire next to him. Click, click, click. Smiles, laughter, a couple of goofy ones. Okay, now one with Anna, Jake said, stepping in. Oh, we're fine, Mom said quickly. We got it. Besides, she's better behind the camera. Jake didn't move. Then I'll take it, he said, holding out his hand. Come on, babe, get in there. I hesitated, looking at Mom. There was a flicker of irritation on her face, there and gone. She pasted on a smile. Sure, she said. One with all of us. We swapped. I went to stand between Dad and Ethan. Jake took a few shots, then handed the camera back. Mom barely glanced at the screen before tucking it away. A few weeks later, the picture she posted on Facebook was one of the first set: Mom, Dad, Ethan, and Claire. Caption: so proud of our boy. Family forever. The shot with me in it never saw the light of day. I told myself I was being oversensitive. Then I saw the printed canvas on their living room wall the next time I visited. Same photo. Same 4 people. The 5th Mason child, apparently, didn't match the couch. Therapy started because of something else entirely. A bout of anxiety so bad I couldn't sleep without jolting awake every hour. But eventually, like my therapist said it would, everything bled into everything. We talked about work stress, yes. But we also talked about the way my chest clenched whenever someone pulled out a camera, about how I always try to position myself at the edge of group photos so I could be easily cropped. They literally cropped you out, she said once after I showed her some screenshots. It looked uglier when you said it plainly. What did that teach you? That I'm extra, I said. Optional. Do you believe that's true? My first instinct was to say yes. That was the comfortable groove in my brain. Instead, I said, I don't want it to be. When Jake proposed to me 3 years later, a quiet, stumbling, perfect moment in our messy apartment kitchen, rings slightly too big, both of us crying. We talked about the wedding that same night. Big, small courthouse? He asked, lying in bed with his head on my stomach. I don't know, I said. I just know I want pictures. He laughed softly. I assumed, he said, like a 10-foot gallery wall. I want to be in them, I blurted out. The words came hot, embarrassed. Like really in them, not just bits. He shifted up so he could see my face. You'll be, he said. You'll be in all of them. And I want everyone there to actually see me, I said. Not look through me, not around me. I want to feel like I belong in every shot. You do, he said firmly. And if anyone makes you feel otherwise, they don't come. It sounded simple when he said it. Black and white. But families are never that simple. We made the guest list with wine and spreadsheets. We put my parents and siblings on it initially because that's what you do, even when there's a knot in your stomach. They're your family. They'll be hurt if you don't. Maybe big life events reset things, I told myself. Maybe I'm being petty. Then Christmas happened. It was the first time Jake and I had gone to my parents for actual Christmas Day, instead of just dropping by on Christmas Eve. I told myself that was progress. We brought gifts. Jake wore the sweater my grandma knitted him last year. Mom seemed fine. A little stiff, but that was her default. After lunch, she clapped her hands. Photo time, she sang. We have to get one for the Christmas card. We all shuffled into the living room. Mom fussed with the tripod, then handed the remote to Jake. You've got the longest arms, she said. Hit the timer and jump in. We did a few shots, standard stuff, someone blinking, someone mid-sneeze. Then Mom said, okay, one more. Just the family. I didn't move. Jake didn't either. Okay, he said. Everyone ready? No, Mom said, frowning. I meant just us. The original 4. She laughed like it was adorable. You two can get one later. There was a split second where the air went thin. You mean without Anna? Jake asked, voice flat. Mom rolled her eyes. Don't be ridiculous, she said. She knows what I mean. Just the kids and us. For the card. I'm your kid, I said. My voice sounded small, even to me. You know what I mean, she repeated. You're an adult now. You've got your own life. This is just, the core family. The one from when you were little. I thought about all the Christmas cards that had gone out without me on them. About the cousins who used to ask, "Why aren't you on your mom's fridge?" Jake slowly put the remote down. "We're not doing that," he said. Mom's mouth tightened. "What?" "We're not doing just a real family photo," he said. "You either mean all your kids or you don't." Dad stepped in then, voice already in that placating tone. "Jake, come on," he said. "It's just a picture. No need to make a big issue." "It's not just a picture when it's every picture," Jake said. There it was, out loud, in the middle of the living room, with a tripod as witness. I could feel my heart thudding against my ribs, my hands going cold. "He's right," I said, surprising myself. "It's always just this once with the photos, and somehow I never make it onto the wall." Mom stared at me like I'd slapped her. "Where is this coming from?" she demanded. "You're in tons of photos." Jake walked over to the collage wall, gestured. "Count," he said. Mom's eyes flashed. "Oh, so now you're ganging up on me," she said. "This is my house." "Exactly," I said quietly. "Your house. Your wall. Your version of our family. There's barely any room for me in it." The argument escalated the way ours always did. Dad trying to smooth it, Mom getting louder and more wounded, Ethan and Claire retreating to their phones. At one point she threw in, "I carried you for 9 months. How dare you say I don't include you?" Which would have been funny if it didn't make me want to cry and scream at the same time. We left early. In the car, Jake gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white. "I'm so sorry," I said automatically. He shot me a look. "You don't have anything to be sorry for," he said. "That wasn't pettiness. That was erasure." The next day, Mom posted a group shot from before the fight. It was one Jake had taken, all 6 of us. Her caption, "All my favorite people in one place." A week later, she changed her profile picture to a new photo. Just her, Dad, Ethan, and Claire. The same pose, same outfits. She'd clearly asked someone to take it after we left. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I screenshotted both photos and brought them to my therapist. "What does it feel like looking at these?" she asked. "Like I'm optional," I said. "Like I'm a +1 to my own life." "Do you want that feeling with you on your wedding day?" "No," I said immediately. "Then what has to change?" I knew the answer before she finished asking. That night, at home, I opened the wedding spreadsheet and moved my parents, siblings, and a couple of the more toxic aunts and uncles into a separate tab labeled "Not Attending." My hand shook. I kept picturing my mother's face, the meltdown that was going to follow. But I also pictured myself in a white dress, pulling my own version of the just a stunt with my future kids someday. The thought made me feel sick. Jake sat next to me, knee pressed against mine. "You're sure?" he asked. "No," I said. "Yes. I don't know. But I know I'm more scared of them ruining it than I am of not having them there." "Then that's enough," he said. I didn't send a dramatic disinvite message. I wrote a careful email instead because I needed it on record and I needed to get through it without being talked over. I wrote, "I've been hurt for years by the way I've been excluded from family photos and, more broadly, from the picture of our family you present to the world. I have raised this before and have been told it's just a picture or that I'm imagining things. I'm not. It's a pattern. Because of this, I've decided to have a small wedding with people who make me feel seen and included. Given our ongoing conflict and the way you've handled it, I've decided not to invite you to the wedding. This is not a decision I made lightly. I am open to talking in the future if there's a willingness to acknowledge and change this pattern. But I will not negotiate this boundary for my wedding day." I sent it with my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The responses came quickly. From Mom, a long, furious email about how ungrateful and brainwashed I was. How dare I accuse her of abuse over something as silly as photos? She'd done everything for me. She'd already bought her dress. Did I know how embarrassing this would be to explain to the relatives? From Dad, a short, conflicted text. "I don't agree with how you see things, but I love you. I hope you change your mind." From Ethan, "This is between you and Mom. Don't drag me into it." From Claire, radio silence. "My therapist warned me that people who've benefited from an old dynamic rarely like it when you change it." My inbox proved her right. For 6 months, things were mostly quiet. A few random check-in texts from Dad that didn't mention the wedding. Mom posting passive-aggressive memes about children who forget who raised them. I busied myself with seating charts and cake tastings and making sure the photographer understood that I wanted as many candid shots of messy, laughing, real moments as possible. I also quietly told my photographer that there would likely be people at the gate trying to crash the event. "They're my family," I said. "I know them." He nodded, taking notes. "My job is to capture the people you want here," he said, "not the ones who show up uninvited." Which is how we got to the dressing room on the day itself. Rachel at the door, my phone buzzing. Outside, as I found out later, there was a scene worthy of a soap opera. My parents, dressed to the nines, my mother clutching the kind of hat she only wore to church on Easter, my siblings in suits and a pastel dress, standing in front of the wrought iron gates while security politely told them their names weren't on the list. "She must have made a mistake," Mom insisted, waving the embossed invitation I'd never sent. She'd had one mocked up for herself, apparently. "I'm the mother of the bride." "I'm sorry, ma'am," the guard said. "This is the guest list. Your names aren't here. I can't let you in without the coordinator's approval." "Call her daughter," my dad said, jaw clenched. "She'll fix it." I didn't. Instead, I steadied my hands, finished my eyeliner, and married the man who had seen me. Really seen me. Since day one. The ceremony was beautiful, if I'm allowed to say that about my own wedding. It was small. 35 people. Lila cried. Jake's mom cried. Jake cried, which made me cry laugh in the middle of my vows. When we turned to face our guests after the kiss, what struck me most was how every single face looking back at us was one that had never treated me like an optional extra. We took a million photos. With our friends. With Jake's family, who had folded me into their chaos years ago without ever once making me stand behind the camera. With my grandma, Mom's mom, who chose to come even after my mother forbade it. "She forbade a lot of things in my life," Grandma said, smoothing her dress. "I'm done listening." At one point, Grandma took my hand and said, "Let's get one of just us," and I flinched instinctively. She paused. "Unless that feels bad?" I realized then how deep it went, how even a harmless phrase had become loaded. "No," I said and smiled. "That one sounds good." We did a big group shot at the end, everyone smushed together, laughter spilling over. The photographer had to keep backing up to fit everyone in. "Okay," he called. "On 3, everyone shout included." They did. The photo is slightly blurry because half of us were laughing too hard. It's my favorite. The fallout hit later that night. We were back at the hotel, shoes off, my dress half unzipped, when I finally turned my phone off airplane mode. It lit up like a slot machine. Missed calls, voicemails, texts from Mom. "I cannot believe you humiliated us like that. Standing outside like beggars while our daughter gets married without us." People were asking where we were. "Do you know how that felt?" From Dad. "We were there, at the gate. You really didn't want us in." From an unknown number that turned out to be Claire's new phone, a blurry photo taken through the gate of the ceremony in progress, tiny figures in the distance. Caption, "Nice." I sat on the bed, phone in my lap, feeling a weird mix of guilt and peace. Jake came out of the bathroom, toothbrush in his mouth, saw my face, and sat down beside me. "Do you regret it?" he asked after I showed him. I thought about the vows we'd just said under the string lights. About the way my chest had felt light instead of tight when I posed for photos, no one pushing me out. About my grandma's arms around me. About little Leo, my cousin, telling me, "I hope when I get married I feel like this too." "No," I said. "I don't." My voice shook, but it was steady at the core. I knew what they'd do. I knew they'd try to make it about how it felt to be outside the gate, not what they'd done to get pushed there. "Do you want to respond?" "Not tonight," I said. "Tonight, I want to remember the good parts." We crawled into bed, exhausted, newly married, my phone turned face down on the nightstand. It's been 8 months. We've had a few stilted conversations since. Dad called once to clear the air and mostly ended up talking about how your mother is very hurt and maybe you could apologize for how you handled it. "I'm willing to talk about what I did," I said, "but only if we're also talking about why. This wasn't out of nowhere." He sighed, the kind of sigh that says he's tired of this topic without ever really engaging with it. Pictures again, he said. You always bring up the pictures. The pictures weren't just pictures, I said. They were the evidence. The proof that I wasn't just imagining feeling sidelined. They're literally the record of our family, and I'm not in it. He didn't know what to say to that. I don't know if things will ever fully mend. I don't know if there's a version of the future where my parents come over for dinner and we flip through our wedding album without tension. Maybe. Maybe not. What I do know is this. When I walk past the gallery wall in our apartment now, full of photos from the wedding and trips with friends and silly Polaroids on the fridge, I'm in every single one. Sometimes in the center, sometimes off to the side, but always there because I chose them and they chose me. I also know that somewhere in my parents' house, the wall above the couch is still covered in family photos that almost don't acknowledge I exist. They used to feel like proof that I was unlovable. Now it feels like proof that I was right to protect myself. They excluded me from every family photo for years. Not by accident, not once, but as a pattern. I spent most of my life trying to squeeze myself into frames where there was never really space for me. On my wedding day, for the first time, I decided who got to be in the picture. It turns out, closing the gate on people who spent years cropping you out doesn't make you cruel. It just means, finally, you're the one holding the camera.